Hello and welcome everybody, my name is Ling and I would like to introduce you to the second part of the Bunnyhop tutorial video series for amateurs. Today this video is going to be technical and we'll talk about so-called control skill, about prehop and prestrafe, about accelerating on a single block in case of lack of speed, about routing, practice binds, and we will analyze the whole process of landing on a block from the right side. So in the previous video I mentioned control, but I did not explain what it was. Basically you can split bhop skill into two components, your strafing skill and your ability to control yourself in the air. So control is your ability to improvise in difficult and stressful situations where you're under pressure because of reaching high speeds or doing a map without failing for a long period of time. It is also an ability to maneuver in between blocks and walls without failing, ability to calculate distance by eye, and come up with temporary routes on the go. So you can call it your overall bhop skill with the exclusion of strafing. It is your skill not to fall and to reach blocks by using any desired trajectory. Control as a skill is crucial on high tier maps where the distances between checkpoints can be very noticeable, blocks are small, and the map is full of obstacles. So that's exactly the place where you can see how well you can control yourself. Control can be quite difficult to master, as there is no real way of learning it other than playing. The feeling of engine, maps, and mechanics comes with time and experience, but in theory there are two things that can help you with that. First is playing mid and high tier maps. Completing them will boost your confidence when facing difficult obstacles. And well, there is a second one, which is routing maps of any tiers, starting from tier 1 to tier 6. So let us talk about routing. If you remember my previous video, routing is memorizing angles and blocks that you have to jump on from the beginning till the end of the map, or on certain parts of the map. So what's the benefit of routing? Well, it might not be obvious at first, but routing doesn't only help you get the best completion time for your current skill level, it is also one of the best and the most efficient ways of not only getting a high level of control, but also it helps out with strafing tremendously, which can be seen quite illogical at first. So what exactly are the advantages of routing? If you remember the map by heart, it won't just make you navigate the map quicker, but it would also give you a lot of confidence, as you would not need to figure out which blocks to jump on next, cutting the difficulty of long bits with dozens of blocks by a lot, as such could be completed with a couple of jumps with a proper route. But the most important thing is, because you would not need to concentrate on which blocks to jump on, the whole process of thinking changes as well. Before, more than half of your attention was focused on improvising, and now you will spend only about 20% of your attention towards recalling where the block that you memorized is, and the rest 80% will be focused on moving yourself between the blocks. And you will notice that surprisingly, most of these 80% will not only be focused on improving your air control, but what's most important, the more you play, the more you will start subconsciously focusing on strafing. But there are a couple of things you should know before you start routing your maps. First is get used to practice binds. Again, these are SMCP and SMPrac. Binds may vary on different servers. These are from CKSurftimer. I use my mouse as an SMCP, as it's much easier for me to set checkpoints with my mouse, while my SMPrac is bound to F. So when you use SMCP, a checkpoint appears in the place where you clicked it. It saves your angle, your location, and your speed that you had when the checkpoint was created. These two commands will save you dozens of hours of replaying a map when all you wanted is just to practice a certain bit, but you always had to restart, because until you actually got to the place, you managed to fall a couple of times or lose your desired speed that you had pre-planned for your route. So with practice binds, you can instantly get teleported to a desired location and practice it how many times you want, removing the need of getting the speed again from the beginning. So don't underestimate these. This is the true blessing for a quick learning. Now let's talk about how you can make your first route. Every single route starts with the first jump, but before it there is a so-called accelerating moment, or a moment of pre-speeding. Basically, this pre-speeding moment exists in two forms. There is prestrafe and prehop, also known as pre-jump. Pre-strafing is accelerating on the ground. The most common way of doing it is holding W and the strafe key. For instance, you can hold D, and then moving your mouse at a constant speed to the side that corresponds to the strafe key held. If you want to know what speed you should be moving your mouse with, first you have to find out what the maximum prestrafe on the server is. If you don't want to ask, then you can just check it by yourself. All you need to do is find a wall that you can walk next to. Get close to it and then look parallel to it. Then hold the strafe key that is closest to the wall and hold W. Don't move your mouse and look at the speed on your timer. Memorize it, move your mouse a few pixels left or right, and start walking forward. If the speed is lower than the previous one, try to move your mouse to the opposite side for a few pixels and find a point where moving it either left or right will both give you lower speed. This number will be the server prestrafe speed. Now try prestrafing to a side by moving your mouse on a constant speed to the side for a couple of seconds. If you're not getting close to the maximum prestrafe speed, try either moving your mouse faster or slower, but still on a constant speed until you find it, because this will be the speed at which you would need to be leaving the starting zone each time you play. After you found it, try getting close to the green zone and try leaving it on the prestrafe speed by jumping as soon as you touch the edge of the zone, and after you do, start strafing. This is one way of pre-speeding. The second one is pre-speeding with the use of a prehop. A prehop is a jump that is performed towards either the inside of the zone, aka time glitching, or towards the edge of it without exceeding the zone speed limit, which is usually not more than 320 units or 300 units. You can check that by jumping around inside of the zone. So whether you're improvising or routing, everything should start with either a prehop or a prestrafe. Though I like to point out that sometimes a server can lack a prestrafe plugin, or pre-hopping can be blocked by the timer settings. But there should be at least one of these, so make a habit of pre-speeding each time you start a map, as it will give you additional speed that would definitely be of use during your run. After pre-speeding, you should decide which block you're gonna jump on first. Then, based on your speed, find the blocks that you would jump on next in your route. It's preferable to choose blocks furthest away that you can still reach, but one thing to note is that you should not sacrifice too much speed and make too many strafes, as this can harm you in the long run. If you're playing a short map that is 10 to 15 seconds, then 2 to 3 strafes would be fine, but on average, you should not exceed 2 strafes per jump during your runs. Also, when you become better at routing, you start noticing that routing is not only about blocks, but also about angles and sides at which you should be approaching blocks. The side from which you approach the block is very important, because basing on the location of the next block, whether it be to the right or to the left from the block you're flying towards, it will decide how many strafes you have to make in order to reach it, how much speed you'll get from a single strafe, and it will define whether you will need to strafe a bit faster and lose some potential speed if you would want to reach that block. So don't be afraid to experiment, it will all eventually boost your skill and increase your average map completion time. Now, I have a question. Do you remember that I said that there were 2 ways of learning control? The second one would be routing, that we have already discussed, while the first one is playing mid and high tier maps, right? So about that, I have a couple of tips and exercises that will help you with playing not only in the mentioned tiers, but on lower ones as well, as they will improve your control and add some confidence. Have you ever had a situation where you suddenly lost a lot of speed but didn't fall? There are several ways of getting speed back, but one proves to be the most efficient, and that would be the 8 jumping. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not really good at making up names. Find a small single block and start jumping on it infinitely by making 225-degree turns by switching sides each time you land on the block. One thing to mention though, that if your sense doesn't allow you to do at least 360 degrees of rotation, then before performing a jumping, move your mouse to one of the sides of your mouse pad, and only then should you make a 225-degree turn. To make the turn, you should have at least 330 degrees of rotation, otherwise you'll have to reset your mouse during the strafe. That will make you lose stability and mouse control. Now let's make it a bit harder. To boost your control, find a spike, a stick, or a very little block that you can jump on and try A-jumping on it for at least 10 to 20 minutes, until you feel like you can do it with ease. Later, if there is another block next to it, you can try A-jumping between it and another one. This can help you boost your control abilities to a higher level. And that would be it. There is one more little topic I'd like to discuss, but we'll talk about it in the third part of the Bunnyhop tutorial video series for amateurs, and I'm gonna see you there. Peace.